Hello and good morning from the Universal Studios Florida Park. We have heard rumors that the Mummy may or may not have reopened this morning and that it could reopen today. So either way, we decided to show up and gamble and see. For right now, we're walking past the Minions construction. The park is, as expected, a little busy this morning. It is the beginning of August here, summer in Florida. But that doesn't mean that the park is overly crowded. In fact, security was very, very easy this morning at about 8:30 a.m. In case you haven't recently been updated about the construction efforts that are happening inside the park, if you look on your right, we can see the Monsters Cafe under demolition with Minions construction walls in front of it, right next to the previous Shrek attraction that also has Minions construction walls around it. But, like I just said, not super busy, to be honest, right now. As you can see around, I know a lot of people have rushed immediately to go to the Wizarding World. That's expected in the morning. We had a good line over at the Minions attraction and at Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, but still, not too crazy this morning for it being summer. We can see some of the tents being set up for Halloween Horror Nights. On the left is The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. What do you think about that ride? I myself, I'm not the biggest fan, but that doesn't mean other people aren't the biggest fan, you know? On your right here, we have got the previous facade for the summer tribute store here for Universal. But a lot of people are beginning to think that this facade is not going away, that it is perhaps going to be transformed into the Horror Nights one because there seemed to be a backstory. Normally they quickly tear it down, but now we've got these closed signs here, making us think it's going to be transformed and rebuilt. We're here now in front of the Mummy, where there's no people currently, but it is definitely set up for what could be a possible opening later. But as of right now, as you can see, no, Revenge of the Mummy is currently not open. In front of it, we have some more stuff being set up for Halloween Horror Nights. We had heard rumors that there was some ride testing happening last night. We don't know if that was for team members or if it was just general ride testing that the Universal maintenance teams and everything were working on. You can see that they are definitely ready for when it will open. But currently, no. You can actually see, I don't know if you can see, but there's actually black plastic all up along the walls and the doors. It's like a tarp in front of it. Let's head into the store. Sahara Traders has had a couple of changes recently. It was obviously all based around the Mummy, and then it was more about general horror icons for Universal. Now it's gone back to being a little bit more about the Mummy, but still gotten an overall update with some new props and some nice lighting, it looks like. here at the exit with some updated looking photo areas, and they've changed the desk here obviously since before. Got the signage up there, got some props and everything, but not yet open.
Doctor, I'm afraid you've got me wrong. I mean the kind of music men hum or whistle when they feel on top of the world. And gentlemen, one of the many things that give you that tip-top feeling is the pleasure of being well-dressed. Perfect taste is a criterion. And in fact, there's nothing smarter than an atom.
If you're looking for some more subtle Halloween merchandise, here it is. Or some stuff to Horror Nights. It's coming up very soon. I got my Frequent Fear Plus pass, and I will be here again and again and again.
That is pretty.
In the comments, let me know, what is your favorite roller coaster at the Universal Orlando Resort? The Mummy is really high up there for me. It was number one, but then the Velocicoaster and Hagrid's opened. And I really do also like Rip Rocket. I don't know if Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket is my favorite, but I do love sometimes just jamming out to the music, you know? But I don't know. The Mummy, it might continue to still be my favorite roller coaster at the Universal Orlando Resort. One of my favorite overall in Florida. I love that it's half dark ride, half roller coaster. And I'm hoping that this big refurbishment amplified some of the effects that honestly were already pretty good. Some of the projections and the fire, I mean, they were really well done. When they did the big update a few years ago, that majorly changed it and updated, in my opinion. Hey, Andy, I see your comment. Yes, it's been closed for over 6 months now for a big refurbishment of the ride on the inside. We aren't 100% positive what has changed. We're really hoping that the original story aspect stayed. You know, everyone loves that ending where it goes, could have gotten my cup of coffee, you know. But we aren't entirely sure what has changed. That's why we were here today, to kind of see what's changed in the queue, what had changed on the ride. Obviously, we weren't going to be able to take the phone on the ride because you can't have loose objects, but we could have taken you through the queue. But if anyone's just joining now, my question I had just a minute ago was, what is your favorite roller coaster at the Universal Orlando Resort? We've got a lot of options, quite a lot of options. Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, Revenge of the Mummy. We've got Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, a true mouthful of a name. We've got the Velocicoaster. We've got the Incredible Hulk. While we're here on the street, we'll just start looking around for some of the Halloween Horror Nights merchandise. The first time I came to Halloween Horror Nights was Horror Nights 24, and I wasn't, to be honest, a very big horror fan. Didn't really love horror films, The only reason I came to Horror Nights was because of The Purge, because I had seen the movies and they were very interesting, and I wanted to see Universal's rendition of it. And then I became utterly obsessed and have fallen in love with Horror Nights ever since. It's my favorite time of year at Universal, and they're setting up the merch here. From looking at some of their, I mean, not their merch, their props. Um, but looking at some of the merchandise and seeing some of these props, it looks like at least one theme of them is going to be like a classic Halloween. Obviously, something's going to have gone wrong, but a classic Halloween. And I'm really excited for that. Because, you can't go wrong sometimes with just, a corn maze and some pumpkins and a little bit of, blood and murder to go along with it. Hey, Jared, I see Velocicoaster is your favorite. That is definitely an amazing choice. You can't really go wrong with the Velocicoaster. I mean, it's got the speed, it's got the effects, it's got the flips, it's got all that going into it, along with obviously being part of the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park series, which is incredibly popular. I love the Velocicoaster. I was floored when I first saw it. I thought it was incredibly well done. Hey, Dakota. Yeah, I see. Velocicoaster is amazing, and as a coaster alone, it's your favorite. But the Mummy's theming makes it a standout. Absolutely, I agree with you there. The Mummy's theming on the inside, its queue is so well done, and that's why I have trouble deciding which coaster is my favorite. Because when it comes to thrills, it's very hard to beat the Velocicoaster. The Hulk is right up there. But overall, I mean, like the Mummy, I don't know. I feel like there's just something special about going to Halloween Horror Nights, jumping on the Mummy and getting that scary aspect and going through. And the queue's usually not super long during Horror Nights. So you kind of get this like vibe feeling of just hanging out, chilling out, going on this fun roller coaster. And it fits the theme so well. And I think it fits perfectly here inside the park. On the other side here, the streets of New York, I'm not seeing a ton of other decorations. I mean, we've got the little one, but I don't see any other major Horror Nights pre-decorations. We got the train way over there, but I don't see any others. Go wrap around the other side and see. Walk back through and go in front of it one more time. But I mean, unless all these people dressed in their polos are here to open the ride, which I assume not, then most likely it's not opening this morning. Probably not at all today. But, we tried, we gambled. Hey, Mike B. I see your comment of saying, was there a soft opening? We had heard that there was a sort of a team member soft opening. I don't know entirely what that means. I don't know if they were able to go on the attraction or go through the queue. We had heard it. We haven't seen photos or videos to prove that, but we heard they were able to go on the ride last night. They could have been sent through the back ways, through the exits just to be able to get on the attraction and not see the actual queue, because as we just saw a minute ago, tarp was definitely set up. But supposedly, yes. In just a minute here, I'll end the live stream. I'm going to end up going to get some photos and videos of some of the Horror Nights decorations that are already kind of pre-set up. Obviously, the one we've walked in front of here a few times. But if there's any special decoration you can think of that you'd like to see, or if there's an area or something maybe you heard, let me know in the comments here before I end the live stream, and I will go and check that out for you. See this little tarp here over this unannounced thing? Most likely, in my opinion, that's just because it's probably a fake dead body or a skeleton, and they just don't want to have that sitting out in the middle of the park. Until it's Horror Nights. Yeah, Jared, Horror Nights or Stranger Things house would be great at Horror Nights again. I think they usually seem to be delayed by like a year. Like there used to be a little gap in between. So I think it's definitely possible that we could see a Stranger Things season 4 house at Halloween Horror Nights again, but I don't. It's definitely not going to happen this year. I mean, they would have announced it already. We're so close. They would have used that as one of their icons, made it a big deal, all that stuff. So I think that's something that we might perhaps get next year. And I know with the insane popularity of Stranger Things, I'm sure it's something they're thinking about or trying to figure out. But as of right now, we're not sure. Another look at some of the classic Halloween stuff. So this is actually something important to point out real quick. So we've got the judges booth, but right here, Major Sweets Candy Co. I believe that this 100% relates to the reason that the tribute store, that facade has not been torn down. If you were to go in there at the very end, that like last little door, it's after you actually pay for all the merchandise and everything, there's always like a little tiny little section where they sometimes put a last big prop or something like that. Well, at that exit, every couple of days or every few weeks, they would add a new newspaper clipping to it, and it would kind of explain something about the store. Like, oh, was there something weird about it? Or there's something in the 50s, something happened here, something in the 60s happened here. And it didn't make 100% sense, which is okay, because it was leading up to a backstory. You see these lights? This also makes me think of this store. Look at this. Mm-hmm. The door's open, but I'm not about to walk into a door that I'm definitely not supposed to be in. But I'm going to look. Hello. Yeah, I mean, that alone right there sells it to me that they're doing something in there very important. Again, not going to step in there because it's very obvious. You're not supposed to walk into it right now because they're clearly doing something, but it looks like they're getting ready. Who knows what props are going to be needed to be set on that right there. Yes, Dakota, I see your comments about how you think the theater is going to be something like it's abandoned. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think what we just saw happening right there is kind of proof that they're working on it right now. But yes, I think that they're going to take that theater and somehow make it abandoned or make it spooky or make it haunted. And it's just going to stick. We've got the classic old Halloween here. We've got the classic retro movie theater there. So how amazing would it be if they could transform this tribute store into something else? I'm already a massive, massive fan of the tribute stores. I think it's one of the best things Universal's done in recent years. And so to see that they are possibly making like a continued storyline for their tribute stores is just amazing. I mean, they put so much detail and thought into those tribute stores that to think that they might be doing a multi-stage one where if you're a pass holder or a frequent visitor of the parks, that you could literally follow this storyline across store to store to store, and at tie in with Horror Nights would be amazing. Um, so yeah, I could definitely see it being haunted, and we could go in there and maybe not see the same style props. You know, it was Back to the Future, Jaws, and E.T. While it might not be those three, it could still remain the same skeleton of what the building is and the idea of it being a theater. But now you can go in and maybe it's the classic monsters, because we know the classic monsters are going to be at Horror Nights this year. The Universal classic monsters. We got the werewolf, or the Wolfman. He's going to be in there. The mummy vampire. Speaking of the mummy, and so we could see all those tie together. We could possibly get a store where maybe those three classic films kind of storm it and take over, or maybe we've got a different storyline going in. But I am fairly certain you are already looking at the facade, the basic facade. It's going to have some more decorations, but the basic facade of the 2022 Halloween Horror Nights tribute store, haunted house-esque thing. Yeah, Mike B, I agree. It is going to be. It would definitely be easier for them to just modify some of the rooms and transform it into the Horror Nights, which would just be so great. You could focus more on story, or maybe some more expensive props, or who knows? They could reuse a majority of the building and layout as it is, which they kind of do for the tribute stores anyway. They usually have a similar flow. You've got your like little entrance here with like that tiny little room. Then you've got, you know, section 1, store 1, section 2, the long hallway, the section 3, and then you've got your like finale, which has where the actual registers are, and they usually are selling desserts in there. So they've kind of figured out a system of how they want to run those. So they do kind of have a basic layout that they like to do, but now it looks like they could be taking that idea and pushing it forward and making it more about how can we amplify the Horror Nights story, how can we amplify the tribute store story. So who knows? But we definitely just stumbled upon something happening. I mean, I'm not going to say that that little piece of wood is going to confirm anything, but I can confirm that there is at least someone doing something inside the building right now as we speak. While we were hoping today to see Revenge of the Mummy reopen and possibly see changes that had happened, it looks like Universal is going full speed ahead, especially with the rumor that there was some team members last night testing out the ride. I mean, we know that they want to have this ride open for Horror Nights. I mean, that's a given, especially if this is going to end up being themed something to it. You're going to have the Mummy open. I mean, it makes sense. So if we get a even more updated attraction here, that would be perfect. Just get all of that set up and completely ready for all of our guests for Halloween Horror Nights. Another massive year coming up for Horror Nights, which every year, to be honest, is a massive year. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger and do better and better and better. Oh, Dakota, I like your comment. Yes. Remember the teaser we got this year with the three monsters popping their heads out of the movie posters? That could certainly be happening. Looks like we've got Mummy coming over here to say hello. Hello. Yeah, sorry. The Florida sweat, the heat. Loving the makeup, though. I'm really waiting for your whole area to reopen. Thank you. Right there. I'm not gonna lie. I actually don't know what the official name of these characters are. Would these be considered big pharaohs? There we go. Would they be considered, mummy gods? Would they be part of? I don't know. If anyone actually knows in the comments, I'd love to know what their official names are. But they're certainly playing peekaboo with the little kid. Oh, maybe not peekaboo. He might just be hiding. Maybe peekaboo. But that is going to be all for now. Again, Revenge of the Mummy has not reopened, but we quite literally just saw some work happening inside of the tribute store, which we're really hoping is going to be related to the Mummy attraction and Horror Nights overall with this street. So we're going to see what happens, but thank you all so much for joining this live stream, and maybe hopefully soon we'll be able to tell you exactly what's happening inside Revenge of the Mummy at Universal Studios Florida. Thanks for joining.